Welcome back to The Tangent. Here we are again talking about anime. Again, we have the same four people in this room like we do always. We have Devin, Tim, Harrison, and myself.
Yo.
We just got done talking... Yo. Okay, that's a good intro. Anyway, we just got done talking about some random anime from the last episode. We're gonna.
Last episode was very freeform.
Yeah, it was very freeform, and I'm okay with that because we had no lulls. So it's like you guys just kept talking about anime, so I just let it go.
It was just like bludgeoning Angel Dokuchan.
Right. Anyway,
all over the map.
Yeah, just I'll fast forward.
So this time we're gonna discuss a little bit more mainstream stuff. Still, you probably won't hear me talk too often because I still don't watch much anime.
My talking has been reduced.
I think Devin has a list of a few of the ones we want to talk about today.
That's right. I think we're going to start from the bottom. We might not go in exact order of what's on here, but let's start with Shimoneta from...
Well, that's not a popular anime.
It doesn't have to be popular.
Well,
Just talk about it, man.
I think that's why it was on the bottom.
Yeah, probably.
Yes,
but
your taste sucks.
So this is one of Harrison's ones that he wanted to talk about. Now, Harrison is not... I'm going to explain this. Harrison does not like a lot of the mainstream animes out there. Like, you know, I don't know, My Hero Academia or
for Dragon Ball.
The only one that's really mainstream that he watches is Dragon Ball. So we let
every other anime has tentacles.
Yeah. Well,
we've pretty much talked about Dragon Ball. We talked about Sword Art Online.
We did.
You know, I could talk about Dragon Ball for days.
He had some horses in those races, but we're gonna discuss Shimoneta because I'm interested.
Shimoneta is really funny. It is a comedy anime. The idea. Let me look up the subtitle really quick. I'm pretty sure it's Shimoneta: A World Where Dirty Jokes Are Illegal or something like that.
Right,
So
that
basically,
awesome,
the idea is that the government in Japan has made anything dirty illegal. So like talking about sex, having sex, doing any of that is illegal.
They already have a population problem. How?
Yeah,
they do. You can't make dirty jokes at all.
Going in the opposite
Everybody
direction.
wears these like things on their neck, like a collar that will like
kill them or shot
I guess it's like a GPS thing that they'll get found if they make a dirty joke or anything like that.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like a Demolition Man thing where like you curse and they give you a ticket.
but then
one credit.
Yeah.
But then there's this chick that wears like panties on her head and runs around like a superhero that just like hands out porn to people and makes a bunch of jokes and stuff and messes with the main protagonist guy too. And
Does she not have a collar?
Really funny. She does, but I think she glitches it out or something. But it's.
Do the panties turn it off? Like what the?
I don't remember. I think she did something with her cell phone.
I love the fact that sometimes you have
but it's
like
funny.
The title of an anime right there, you know, and like you don't know what to expect, but like this is definitely not what I expected.
Yeah,
that's not what I expected from that at all.
The whole show is a bunch of dirty jokes, but like and they're really funny because the idea is that it's illegal. The whole idea, it's.
So yeah. I would say that's definitely kind of like a more of an adult suggestion, but I mean
sort of. I mean, it's not like pornographic in any way.
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
So that's typical Harrison, a completely off the wall anime that sounds absolutely hilarious.
It sounds awesome.
If you like Zombieland Saga, maybe watch that. It's
okay.
good.
Hey.
It's funny.
All right. So the next one we want to talk about.
Let's go with something popular. Start from the top.
I'll start from the top then, and I guess we'll talk about Bleach to start our popular conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So Bleach has waned a lot in popularity over the past few years, but when it was big, it was big.
Yeah. I mean,
it was like the bomb that like got a bunch of weebs to be weebs.
I would say a lot of. I mean, if you talk about like protagonists that a lot of people absolutely love, Ichigo is definitely on people's lists, and
yeah.
I would say a lot of people still consider Ichigo to be their favorite, main character or favorite anime character. You know,
And actually, I think Bleach broke a lot of weird stereotypes that are in anime, which I noticed this a lot when I was watching Sword Art. In order for you to in anime, a lot of times the creators will portray a strong woman by making like a next to homicidal, like sort of sociopathic crazy person who's just violent all of the time. Anytime anything even slightly inconvenient happens toward her from the protagonist, like so just beat the crap out of him for no reason. And that's just how we expect strong female characters to be,
especially in anime. And
right.
Yeah,
but
all the time.
But in Bleach, that doesn't really happen. You have some strong female characters that fight, and you have what's her name, the redhead.
Orihime.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's just a super nice girl, but she's very popular.
Yeah.
Among fans, and I feel like the main reason why a lot of the creators for anime and manga make these hyper violent, sociopaths as their female characters because they want them to be popular, and a lot of them do end up being popular.
I feel like it's for comic relief too.
Sometimes, yes, but Orihime, I think, was kind of a mold breaker and showed that a nice character can be popular even in an action anime.
Yeah. And I mean, there are actually characters in there that, she definitely breaks the mold. And I mean, there still kind of is Rukia, it kind of fits the role of like the unreasonable, angry girl towards the main protagonist in Ichigo, but like,
yeah,
they don't really go too far with it in Bleach really ever. There's never like a point where she's like hammering them into the ground or that kind of thing. But
I mean, the guy who made Bleach is kind of a weird guy anyway.
Definitely.
But a lot of the reasons why Bleach ended up sort of going downhill was actually his fault. And I think he kind of did it on purpose because his attitude toward drawing, especially when he was like drawing the manga and he was drawing for Shonen, like for the magazine, he liked drawing cool stuff, and he came up with all the characters from Bleach because he wanted to draw cool stuff, but he wasn't really a storyline writer. He just basically wrote around the fact that these people were cool, and once he got tired of drawing them, he didn't want to draw them anymore.
So the story,
but that's the way he was making money, and he kind of got mad about it. So I mean.
But anyways, let's kind of explain the premise of Bleach, kind of.
Sure. Dude's dead.
Dude's dead.
Sounds like a spoiler, but it's not.
Right.
Because he dies in what, the first episode?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
I guess that's like the intro.
He dies in the first episode, but he doesn't die. He's dead, but he's not dead.
It's like explaining Yu Yu Hakusho and saying dude dies.
Right.
It's like, but it's not a spoiler because it's the first episode.
Basically, Ichigo Kurosaki is a substitute Soul Reaper, and I don't know. It's weird to describe like the plot of it for me because I'm actually not very far into the show yet.
Okay, so the basics are there are these creatures called Hollows.
Yeah,
they creep around the real world.
They basically come out of like dark dimension portals out of nowhere.
So yeah, kind of. So they creep around, they hurt people, they do stuff, and there are these people called Soul Reapers, and their entire job is to kill Hollows.
But, alright, now, hold on, though, because nobody can see Hollows. Nobody in the real world can see Hollows.
Right, you have to be dead or...
Yeah, or a Soul Reaper or some other kind of weird, creature / thing that exists in this universe. But, like, Ichigo finds out he can see him, and there's the plot from there. He basically becomes a Soul...
So he gets tagged as being a substitute Soul Reaper when what was it, Rukia? I can't remember what happened to her that she couldn't do it anymore.
She gets sent to the real world from the Soul Society, which is where the Soul Reapers are from, and somehow she kind of loses her power.
Yeah,
and Ichigo ends up like being the substitute that she makes sure gets her job done for her.
Right. So the first storyline arc is pretty short. He's subbing for Rukia. He takes on some Hollows. She gets her powers back. They go to the Soul Society. They hang out for a while.
Yeah, the first arc really, there's not a whole lot of substance to it.
It's a very short intro arc.
It basically introduced him and his squad, you know,
Yeah.
his homies, his team. And then they go to the Soul Society, and that's where stuff really, really kicks off, you know.
Yeah, that's when you start getting into, like, the super powerful Hollows and, like, internal politics in the Soul Society.
Right,
And,
you know, and Ichigo really comes a long way as a main character.
Yeah.
Strength-wise, not so much character-wise, I would say, because for me, with as far as into the show, I definitely like Ichigo, but, like, I don't know, I'm still waiting for some development for him.
He doesn't get a whole lot of character development. He's very close to, like, a blank slate Harry Potter type character.
Yeah.
Character development happens around him, not to him.
Yeah, and, like, that's a cool part of it so far, is watching the other characters develop is really cool. You know, especially once he goes to the Soul Society, because they introduce a lot of new characters in that arc.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they almost immediately start developing from, you know, their first, you know, time seen in the show.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's got a pretty interesting story that gets driven into making you more and more interested as you watch it.
It's worth watching, especially like the first maybe 3 or 4 storyline arcs.
Mm-hmm.
It does eventually go off the rails. It suffers a lot from bad filler.
Definitely. But that's also, I mean, if you're listening and you watch anime, you kind of already know that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things suffer from bad filler.
I feel like bad filler is less of a problem for non-shonen style anime.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Anything that shonen makes, they try and crank out as fast and as hardcore as possible, and as a result, you end up with a lot of bad filler.
Yeah, and I would say pretty much all freaking shonens have at least like a 10 to 15% or more filler rate.
Yeah.
At least. And some of them have ridiculous amounts. Like Naruto has like 41%.
You could say that slice of life animes are 100% filler.
Yeah. But in a sense,
I actually don't think you could say that, because the point of filler is basically nothing happens.
Yeah.
Nothing happens to push anything forward.
Yeah.
Slice of life anime is a lot about character development and life experiences, and that's what the shows are about, and that's what happens in them. So they aren't really filler.
Meanwhile, Shonen's got like 20 episodes where like they're just trying to do something that doesn't matter at all to the plot.
Yeah.
Or to the character.
The point of
Like
filler,
learning how to drive.
yeah, learning how to drive.
Yeah.
The point of filler is to not move anything forward.
Yeah. That's why, you know, the Snake Way arc is like 20 episodes.
Right. But we need to get off Dragon Ball. But
Yeah.
We should just have a Dragon Ball podcast.
We should.
Next week we're changing the name to Dragon Ball Evolution Tangent.
Yeah. Unnecessary Dragon Ball tangent.
Unnecessary. Unnecessary Prometheus orbs.
That actually reminds me, so in terms of filler is a bad problem with shonen style anime, because a lot of it is newer stuff. Yeah. So the anime catches up with the manga really, really fast, and that's where you get the problem of filler. But you can have extremely long running anime that don't have huge filler problems. And one of my favorite examples of this is like Detective Conan, or in America it's called Case Closed. Mm-hmm. That show is like 22 seasons long, and there's no filler in it. But they had a huge advantage where they didn't start making the anime until the manga had been going for like 5 years.
Yep.
So they had this giant buffer.
So
but you don't get that in shonen anime.
This isn't on the list, but and this isn't even an anime I've seen, but have you ever heard of the differences between the original dub and the English dub of Ghost Stories?
No.
So basically, whenever the English dub was being written, they were told that they could do essentially whatever they wanted, and they completely changed the entire plot of the thing. if you listen to the English dub, you'd honestly think it was an abridged thing. Like, it is probably more stupid than, like, Dragon Ball Z abridged.
Okay.
First of all,
and
there's nothing stupid about Dragon Ball Z.
I love it. I'm just saying, like, it has, like, stupid moments, like, the entire time, like...
It's basically an abridged show.
Yeah, you would think it was an abridged show.
You would think it was just a parody.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny that happened.
That does actually bring up a decent point, because one of the things that I don't like it when people say that, you know, don't watch dub, you know, only watch the subs and stuff like that, because there's a lot of really good dubs. Like I showed you guys Gakugarashi last week. I showed you the dubbed version because the dub is really good. It's a really good dub. But even that show did something in the dub that irked the hell out of me. So the 4 main character girls, one of them didn't originally go to that school, but in the dub, they make it so that she did. They sort of etch over that. They change one line that was, you know, you went to a different school, so you don't know about blah, to you were an underclassman in this school, and therefore you don't know about blah. The change serves no purpose except to make a couple things that happen later in the show slightly more confusing.
Yeah.
Because it made more sense when she didn't go to their school.
Right.
So that one line messes up some stuff, and there was no reason for them to change it.
Yeah. They made... See, I'm about to start talking about Dragon Ball again.
Alright, well then, instead of doing that...
Next
you want to talk about Attack on Titan?
Alright, so we're talking about Attack on Titan now. And I expected, when I had this put on the list, that I was going to have a lot of backup to help me talk about Attack on Titan.
You have zero, because
all these losers
not yet to see it.
All these losers did not watch Attack on Titan.
Have not watched. Not did not. Have not.
And I'm looking directly at you, Devin.
Whatever.
But Attack on
Devin?
Attack on Titan, for anyone who hasn't seen it, all 3 of you, it's pretty simple storyline. These giant person-shaped creatures called Titans show up one day and just start eating folk.
Nice.
Like that. That's it. So the humans make this giant city to live in, with giant walls to protect them from the Titans. And it starts off, I think it's 100 or 200 or some odd number of years later, and they're still trying to deal with this Titan problem. And you just pick up with a character. He's a younger kid. He wants to be in, you know, like the basically the special forces of their military that go out and hunt Titans. And one day, randomly, the front gate of the walled city gets busted down by a mysterious gigantic Titan, and Titans flood in. Uber Titan. Bunch of Titans flood in, take over the entire first ring of the city, and kill his family, except for his adopted sister. Everyone flees into the second ring of the city, and, you know, crap picks up there about a year later.
Damn.
So it was an interesting show. I watched the first season. There are other seasons that came out. I remember when the second season got announced. I was excited for it, but I never bothered actually watching it, because as time went on, I got less and less enamored with the show, just personally.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about it like forever ago.
Yeah.
Like really, like at least 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You telling me to watch it.
And if I were to describe why I stopped being enamored with the show, it was probably because as time went on, I realized it was more and more Game of Thronesy, in that not good way, where they get you attached to a character and then immediately murder the hell out of them.
That might actually be a reason why I would enjoy the hell out of that, because I'm a glutton for punishment, man.
There's so many shows that have that
here's the thing. That kind of twist works on occasion, because it can suck you into a world and make it feel more realistic.
Yeah.
But once it happens like the 13th or 14th time, you eventually just go, You know what? I have other things to do with my day.
That's kind of how I was with The Walking Dead. Once I got a certain amount into the show,
dude,
I was just kind of like,
I said that this
eventually,
morning.
talking about
eventually all these characters are probably gonna die because if I'm being logical here, if the zombie apocalypse was real, everybody would die.
Yeah, I said that this morning. I
We all,
compared.
I
to,
think
Dude,
the
I
three
love
of us
the
that were at
games.
breakfast
They
this
always
morning, we
die.
all got to the same point in The Walking Dead, and
we all got to Glenn died and then stopped.
we're done.
Spoilers. Just kidding.
I
I
tried
haven't
so
gotten
hard.
that far, but I know it happened.
I tried so hard to give it a shot after Glenn dies, but the only thing that was even remotely keeping me watching that is Negan. Negan was one of the best villains ever created in anything. It's just he wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't enough to keep me interested
they spent like
because there
seven,
was nothing.
7 seasons making you love Glenn. 'Cause
Yeah, there
Glenn
was
was my
nothing
favorite
keeping-
character.
And the thing is, they took the one thing that ruined the comic for a lot of people, that the creators of the comic said was a big mistake, and they left it in the show where they already changed a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And they just left it in.
But anyways, this is a whole tangent now.
Yeah, sorry. That was a tangent on.
It-
But
Walking
essentially,
Dead.
that's Attack on Titan.
Yeah, if you're
It's-
watching
it's
Attack
just-
on Titan, prepare
just
for
watch
death.
watch the episode of Walking Dead where Glenn gets killed about 14 times, and you've watched the entire first season of Attack on Titan. It's like,
I don't know. The whole premise behind Attack on Titan actually seems really interesting.
Yeah.
it's a super cool premise, and I might get around to watching the rest of it at some point because there's like a bajillion seasons or something now.
I think there was like 3 or 4.
Right, that's close enough.
Now that I'm
That's
getting
quite a bit.
Now that I'm getting to the
Definitely.
point where I can actually watch more than 1 or 2 episodes of an anime,
Yeah,
at a time,
we're trying to
I
get
might
him to
actually-
watch,
I might
One
actually-
Punch Man.
start that after.
Right. And we didn't put One Punch Man on the
We
list
did not
either.
put One Punch Man on the list, and I feel like that's kind of a disservice because how are you going to talk about popular stuff and not?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
should
know.
probably talk about that one next.
Okay, then let's
well,
go.
then we'll move past Attack on Titan. Tim said, like he said, Tim enjoys Attack on Titan, which is.
I enjoyed Attack on Titan.
And there's a lot of people. There are a lot
but
of
it broke
people
his
out
heart,
there
and he didn't want to
that
come back
really
for more.
enjoyed that show
It-
because I've heard that Attack on Titan from multiple people. Like, oh, such a great
the
anime.
benefit of killing characters that people like to suck people in has diminishing returns and eventually works against you.
Yes.
And my particular tolerance for that method of storytelling
Is low.
ended when season 1 basically ended, and I was kind of done.
Yeah.
Well, it was also
So-
a ploy that you'd seen plenty of times in other shows.
Right.
You know, so you,
And the more and more I see it, the less and less I tolerate it.
yeah.
So we're gonna move on to One Punch Man. Okay, so I told everybody I was gonna try to watch it this week, and I did. I just had trouble finding.
He did try, not he did watch.
I tried. I tried.
He had issues locating it.
Yeah.
It was not the fact that I wasn't willing to sit and watch it. I was just having trouble locating a dubbed version because most people that know me also know that I have a hard time reading.
Yeah.
And when they flash the subtitles, sometimes they flash them too quickly for me as a person to read them.
Yeah.
A lot of other people
I mean-
read faster than I do, so they don't have issues. But my biggest issue is I cannot read that fast. So I have to find a dubbed version. I did get through the first episode dubbed, but the way I was watching them is just more of a hassle than is worth watching.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna find.
So
I will find a different way to get
Well, you've
all
seen-
of the
You
first
know you're
season.
a weeb whenever one eye is reading the stuff and you're still watching.
Oh
the
yeah.
show.
You're just like,
Well, and
Yeah.
that's just it. Is
for
I
sure.
I commend you guys who can do that. My other biggest thing that because I did try to watch the first episode with subtitles on Netflix because it is on there, but it's not dubbed; it's subtitled.
Yeah.
I found myself watching what was on the screen and not reading what was going on. So I'm missing
Yeah.
what the story is because some of the animation in that is actually spectacular.
Oh,
that
yeah,
actually
it's
that actually brings up a
ridiculous.
decent point. I love the animes where even if you're watching sub, you can watch what's going on, not have to read, and still know what's going on.
There are
Right.
Because
certain
there's
ones,
a
yeah.
lot of anime that gets really really wordy for no reason. I don't know why they
Yeah.
they have huge exposition dumps in anime. it's like a trope in anime. Like it's a must have in a lot of anime.
And sometimes
But
in the middle of a great battle,
Right.
they don't need to talk.
Right, but when you have those occasional animes where you don't have to read anything, you could literally just watch everything that's going on, not understand what they're saying, but still know what they're saying. Those are the really great animes to me.
Yeah,
So, anyways, let's talk about.
But you watched the first episode of One Punch Man.
I did.
Yeah.
So go ahead and give us an overview and whether or not you feel like continuing watching it.
I like the premise behind the main character because he seems like that person. I like because in the first episode they kind of show you how he became
One
who he
Punch Man.
was.
Right.
But there was no like real evolution to him. There was no just like in one scene he gets his butt kicked by some lobster dude, and then the next scene, like after that, he's just, all of a sudden he's One Punch Man. He's bald. He kind of does a quick like. After that day, I decided to train so hard. I trained so hard, I lost all my hair, and I became so strong that it's like, you know, it's not even a big deal or whatever. I don't remember if it's in the first episode or the beginning of the second episode where he has that dream.
Oh yeah, right.
Where the people from the underground are coming and like he's finally getting beat up.
Right.
And he's like, oh man, I finally have a challenge, and he's kicking all these people's butt, all these underground people up, and then all of a sudden his alarm goes off. He goes, no, it was just a dream.
I gotta say, like, the entire plot basically of One Punch Man is for him to find somebody that's a challenge for him to fight,
and that's what it seems like.
And
A lot of the premise of the show was just to make fun of shonen anime.
yeah, and that's why it's so great for me. That's why I loved it immediately. I was just like, okay, this is literally just making fun of everything else I love. You know? So it's enjoyable. But, like, also, I'd say the best part of One Punch Man is, with it being, made around the time it is, the animation in it is ridiculously good.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, you can tell it's still some of it's still kind of basic,
mm-hmm.
but the way they do it is awesome. Like I have seen clips, so I have a friend that I work with at one of my jobs. We were really slow, so he's like, "Well, you should check this stuff out if you want to get into One Punch Man. Here's a few little scenes that'll get you interested." So I guess he's sparring with the guy who is mechanical, so he has all those boosters. Yeah. And like the guy he's sparring with gets mad at him because he's not trying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, at the very end of that spar, what is it? What's the main character's name? Like Saitama, like, does this punch and doesn't hit him, but he swings so hard and hits like stops in front of him, and he does so much damage with just the wind coming off of his punch. It like cuts a canyon in the freaking rocks behind him.
Yeah,
it's just like that. Just tells you how strong he is, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah,
we don't want him to try.
It's 100% meant to be like a parody of like he's meant to be just better than everybody, and it's actually kind of cool because through the plot of the first season, it's kind of like nobody can see how badass he is because he can't try that hard because if he does, everybody dies.
Right. It's a parody of shonen anime because it's a trope in shonen anime that your main character becomes so much more powerful than everybody else that no one can touch them.
And then that's
where you start in One Punch Man is he's already more powerful than everything else in the world and he's bored.
Yeah.
Then that's something they do really well. Even in the first couple episodes or the first parts that I've seen, is you can tell he's just bored.
Yeah, and that's why he's having those
point
dreams.
Of life?
And,
like in again Dragon Ball, Goku's stronger than everybody else, and he goes on grand adventures where he's more strong than everybody else. And meanwhile, in One Punch Man, he's stronger than everybody else, and
he just lives in a city.
Right, he's just like, guess I'm going grocery shopping.
And he's kind of like he hates that boringness, but also it's like part of him. So like he can't just like go somewhere else and try and look for what he wants.
Right.
He's still just like, oh, this is life.
Sounds like Dilbert.
Yeah, I can see that.
What's his day job?
What, Saitama's?
Yeah.
I don't think he has one.
I don't think he has a day job.
Now you see, Harrison brings up a good point. I think he should have a day job like Dilbert, where he just like works in an office as like an office drone.
That would be great, but
that would just feed into more boredom.
Part of the reason why he became One Punch Man is actually, he got sick of just going to interviews and trying to find a stupid job.
In that first scene
wasn't for him,
where he fights the lobster dude and gets his butt kicked, he does say the lobster guy's like, "Why aren't you running like everybody else?" He goes, "Don't you have something?" But he goes, "I have no job. I'm unemployed. There's nothing for me to live for, so I might as well just stand here and do whatever." And the lobster dude just completely walks by him, but makes a comment that he's looking for this big chin little kid.
Yeah, who he had just run into.
Well, he ends up running into him afterwards, and then he finds him. The lobster guy finds him, and he tries to protect the kid, right? Because the kid drew nipples on the
lobster guy's chest.
Yeah. It's just it's really weird.
It's got great humor.
Yeah, it does have some pretty good humor in it. But it's the thing is that what I was kind of looking forward to trying to watch is how he goes about his life. I mean, because how many episodes of this are there before he even fights that one alien dude?
Yeah, I think there's like 13 episodes or so.
So there's an alien at the end of the first season that I know about that. Yeah. Comes to Earth because he's told that the one person will
be a challenge for him is on Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's great.
Again, Saitama's just like,
okay, dude. Yeah.
Yawns and kind of sits back and does some dodges. Lets the guy literally beat the living F out of him. Yeah. And like, he kind of does it because he's like, Saitama already knew that. He already knew he won. Mm-hmm. Just in the first couple seconds of the battle with this guy, Saitama already knew he won. So instead of just doing his one punch and ending it right away, he let this guy have this feeling of being able to do something to him. And then the last punch or whatever, he sees this
murders him.
Cone of destruction after he destroys this guy, and it's.
Do we just want to keep going in order on this list?
Yeah, and I have something to say before we get to the next one on the list.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go on.
So, in my life, I have found a lot of different kinds of weeaboos, and I have found a lot of different kinds of them to be annoying. Generally, you can separate weeaboos by their preferred show. So Dragon Ball Z weeaboos can be kind of annoying, but they're generally friendly enough. These next kinds of weeaboos are my least favorite and make me actually hate the show, not because the show's bad, but because I hate their weeaboos.
I can see why you'd think that, and it's because I'm kind of one of those weeaboos, but also like they annoy the shit out of me too.
Right.
So yeah, the next show is Naruto.
Naruto weeaboos are the worst humans on earth.
They're I don't know.
My son used to run around like Naruto.
They're like equally dumb and smart. And I don't know.
I used to see these kids when I was still in high school that wore like Naruto headbands.
Right. If you ever see anyone in a Naruto headband, treat them like you would treat someone in Al Qaeda.
Hey, damn! All right, come on. They just like their show. All right, goodness. But anyway, so
ISIS likes terrorism.
Wow.
Treat them the
same.
Explain.
So Naruto is a kid in a village who grew up without his parents, and he's got a demon fox spirit sealed inside of him. And his dream is to become Hokage. Hokage is basically the leader of his village. And the reason why he wants to become Hokage is because of that fox spirit in him. Everybody in his village hates him. Everybody thinks he's just a menace and he sucks and he's going to destroy the planet because he's got that fox demon spirit in him. But basically, just the entire show is him making everybody else love him.
Yeah,
and working towards becoming Hokage.
The other thing that it gets known for is in the English dub, he yells "believe it" a lot.
And believe it, and yeah.
Well, no, is just that's a common translation of many things from Japanese to English.
Date bayo.
If watch anything that's been translated from Japanese to English, and everyone says every 3.5 seconds.
This is true.
But he yells "Believe it" a lot, and a lot of people don't like that. I will point out, for the sake of the show, in its defense, when he yells "Believe it" in the English dub, he's not actually saying "Believe it." Because a proper translation of what he says in Japanese is, 1, too long, and 2, not proper anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
The closest you can, the closest approximation you can get is something in the neighborhood of "with all due respect," and which would be too long to say,
right,
for the way that they're trying to dub it in English, and it's not 100% exactly, because you don't have a complete translation of it. But with all due respect, if he was saying it, would probably make people hate those things a little bit less.
It's super,
because it makes him, when they translate it to
respectful.
"believe it," it makes him just sound like a rude little jerk.
Yeah, I can see that. But anyways, so he's trying to become Hokage. He gets put in his little ninja squad, and basically, the popular jock dickhead Sasuke, who's also an orphan.
They all orphans.
You know, they become best friends basically, but also they hate each other, and the entire story of just the show is their rivalry and their bond with each other.
Do they learn to drive cars?
No, they don't learn to drive cars. But you know, it's funny because in Naruto, watching like all the way through, there's some weird inconsistencies because like this like takes place in like a time where like there's like no technology, but they also have like cameras.
So, is it a time of no technology, or is it like modern day and they're just out in the middle of nowhere?
I guess you could say it's like modern day and they're out in the middle of nowhere because like they just live in a village surrounded by trees and like you know you don't see them doing, you know, they don't drive, they don't watch TV, they don't have those kind of things around.
Okay.
You know, but you know, there are other points where like, oh, hey, let's take a picture, and they have like a full-on like digital camera, and you're just like, where did that come from? But that's irrelevant because there's things like that.
It came from the town one town over.
In anime, you don't really have to have what time are you in.
Yeah,
you have the technology
because it exists.
It
exists
if you say it exists.
Right.
Yeah, it exists in its own universe, anyways, because it's its own universe already.
Because look at some of the older cartoons where all of a sudden, they live in a world with, they're still using swords and shields, but yet they have hover cars and
right. But as a Naruto fan, I can say for me, Naruto was actually a super appealing and relatable main character, he's kind of him and a great deal of amazing side characters in the show was what made me continue to love it as I'm watching through it. Because there's some times where I'm watching a show and I'm like, okay, I really liked this at first, and I'm gonna continue to watch it so I can say I've seen it all. But like, I can feel like, okay, I'm not starting to like this as much. But for me, the characters kind of carry you through the show because they do a really good job at developing those characters, more than just Naruto himself.
Yeah.
But I guess if we're continuing down the list, I'm still going to be the one talking because we're moving on to My Hero Academia, which...
Oh, yeah, that's you.
I've seen a few episodes. I think me and you sat and watched the first couple episodes
Yeah,
together.
I tried to get you guys into it.
My
I'm
Hero
about
Academia.
to start watching it, so avoid spoilers.
Okay.
My Hero Academia is probably on my top 5 next to watch list.
Okay. Well, so there's me watching the show, I've noticed there's a lot of like tropes from like Star Wars in it, for sure. So, be prepared for that, and that may make you enjoy it / not enjoy it, I don't know. But basically, like the typical shonen, you got your main character who's a teenage white male, or teenage Japanese male, or however you want to put it. You got your teenage...
He's an anime male.
You got your anime male main character who wants to be the hero, which is what they're all about. But like he actually wants to be a superhero. So My Hero Academia, there's at some point in time, some kid was born and he was just glowing. and they analyzed the kid and found out that he has this thing that they call quirks, which is basically a superpower. You know, and more, all kids are being born with quirks. Like 80% of their world, people have quirks. And, you know, I'd say if you are into, like, Marvel and DC and like, the superhero type...
Did you say 80%?
80%, yeah.
So there's, like, 20% civilians.
Yeah. So, more than, like, the Marvel and stuff where they're like, oh, you know, they're definitely outnumbered by civilians. No. Civilians are obsolete now.
Syndrome from Incredibles would love that.
Right.
If everyone's super, no one will be.
And that's kind of...
Then he'd be talking about the bottom 20%.
They portray that super, super well. Of like, so instead of just like, oh, they're superheroes and they come save the day when it needs to be saved, there is actually just a hero society. Most of society is involved in like hero or villains. You know, it's a job. To where you're trying to be popular and get the public eye on you so you can be the number one hero.
So 80% of the world is employed as superheroes, and the other 20% of the world does everything else?
80% of the world is employed as either a hero or a villain.
Okay.
You could be employed as a villain.
So just because you have a power doesn't mean you're going to be a hero. You could end up being a villain.
Right.
Let's skip over the fact that I left out villain. Let's get back to the part where only 20% of the world is doing literally everything else.
But anyways, we haven't even really gotten to the important parts of what makes the show good, in my opinion. And so the way it starts is Mr. Main Character doesn't have a quirk.
Okay.
Nothing. And all he wanted was a quirk. He wanted to be like his hero, All Might, who is the number one hero, played by Christopher Sabat in the English dub. You know, and he wanted to be just like All Might.
Is it Sabat or Sabo?
I thought it was Sabat. I've always heard it.
Sabat.
Yeah, I've always heard it like Sabat or Sabat.
Could be Sabo.
Could be, but I'm pretty sure I've heard him
you can
pronounce
move on. I'm just...
You're just being a dick. Anyways, so he doesn't have a quirk at all, but he's super obsessed with heroes.
Does everyone know he doesn't have a quirk?
Yes. And in fact, there's another character, his name is Kachan, or Bakugo, who went to the same middle school as our main character, and he's just like, he's got this awesome explosion quirk, and he's a total piece of crap towards our main character, saying, you know, you quirkless wannabe, blah, 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 all the time, just bullying the shit out of this kid. And then eventually...
So why is he in training to be a superhero?
He's not. He's just in regular middle school. He wants to be a superhero. He is enrolling at UA High, which is like the superhero #1 high school. You know, so like if you've seen Sky High, it's kind of like that.
But that's what I'm asking is why'd they let him in?
They didn't let him in until he got a quirk. So there's like an exam.
He just like found one.
There's an exam to get
like
in.
Sky High.
Let me freaking finish, guys. Damn. There's an exam to get into the high school, and you know, around the time that he enrolled to take the exam, there's a villain that attacks the bully, dick-headed bully kid.
The explosion guy?
Yeah, Bakugo, the explosion guy. And All Might just so happens to be in that town when it happens, and he runs into our main character, Midoriya is his name. And Midoriya is such a freaking nerd and an All Might fan that he like grabs onto him when he's trying to get away, and finds out that like there's an interesting secret to All Might's quirk and blah blah blah. Anyways, at the end of the first episode, All Might decides to give his quirk to our main character.
He just gives it away.
And yeah, it just says, okay, I can transfer my quirk onto you. Because basically the main character tries to help save Bakugo without having any quirks at all, and it's like, oh, you moved my heart. Blah,
so it's
blah.
kind of one of those. He proved he
proved that he was a hero without the power of a hero.
Yes,
you know.
So
All Might was like, all right.
Without giving away too much of the show, because I have seen this episode. Without giving away too much of the show, is basically All Might has the ability. Because the All Might that you see isn't always been the All Might that everybody has seen. Mm-hmm. The power of All Might keeps getting transferred down over and over again.
Yeah, well, that gives away a huge part of the show. Thanks a lot, James.
That's all right.
But basically, he says, all right. When he first runs into All Might, he asks All Might, who's the #1 hero in the entire world. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody loves him. Blah blah blah. He's the man.
So what's his power?
Everything.
Well, they never really have an explanation for what his is.
What?
But you eventually learn. It's called One for All. And basically, it started as a stockpiling quirk, to where it can stockpile other powers over time. Like, it just continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So the original holder of the quirk passed it down to somebody else. And then they passed it down to somebody else. And then they passed it down to somebody else. And blah, 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 until it got to All Might. And then All Might passed it on to Midoriya.
Okay.
So Midoriya is the 9th person to have this happen.
So the power is it just steal other people's powers?
No, doesn't steal it. It stockpiles itself. So, like, the original person, it was just a stockpiling quirk. But that's not very useful at all if there's no actual power. No, that's literally all it is.
You see one and you just do it?
No. So, the original power was literally just the power to pass on. Think of it like that. It was just the ability to pass it on to somebody else.
Okay.
And then it melds with the next person's power. So the next person has a quirk, and they decide to pass it on to the next person, and it continues to stockpile the power.
How did the first person even know he had a quirk?
I don't know that answer yet.
Okay.
Because the show is only like four or so seasons in. I'm up to date on the manga, but we still haven't got the answer to that question.
So,
anyways, Quirkless Boy gets All Might's quirk.
So what ends up being his power set then?
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
We're still kind of figuring it out. All Might didn't have a quirk either, and his he hasn't unlocked the fullness of what One for All is yet. They don't know. Not everybody knows the fullness. Basically, they're trying to continue to keep a mystery about it.
So what are his go-tos? What's his bread and butter powers?
So the way All Might uses it is basically like just enormous strength. Like, All Might can literally just punch into the... He's basically like One Punch Man, you know? He can punch into the air and create a freaking tornado that blows away his villains. Or, like, you know, and he always just, like, names a state, one of the United States, and then smash after it. So, like, Oklahoma smash, bam, punches somebody. You know? But,
yeah.
you know, so... And, so we kind of, everybody else, the entire world just kind of theorizes that it's some kind of super strength, or, you know, super invulnerability or something like that.
Okay.
But they don't know. It's called One for All. Not a whole lot of the quirk has been revealed yet. I know more than most people.
Is yelling the name of a state part of using the strength?
Yelling smash is apparently part of using the strength, but I don't think that's actually consistent with what they've revealed. It's just, so whenever he gives the power to Midoriya, before he does it, he said, I'm going to give the power to you, but I gotta make you not such a crybaby little bitch first, and I gotta make you train. So he brings him to a beach that's just full of trash and makes him clear the beach off in like 10 months. And then when he's done, he's like, okay, finally you can have the quirk and you can go take this test and see if you can get into superhero high school. And so he goes, all right, you've done it. Here, pink, eat this. And just gives him a hair. And then but in order to use it, you got to clench your butt cheeks and say smash. So what's really awesome about the first season of the show, or just the first couple seasons of the show, is so he never had any practice using the quirk before he goes to take this test. So when he goes to use it, he just full on all of it at once, smash, punches this robot, and breaks his freaking arm.
So not invulnerable.
Yeah, not invulnerability. As it's just like it's just power is kind of the way I'm seeing it. At least the way he's using it, because you know All Might can just launch himself at like sonic speeds. He can punch the crap out of things.
And he didn't find it to be at all pertinent to inform him how he's able to punch things
without
murdering himself.
All Might is a terrible teacher.
Is this all the first episode, or is this?
This is like the first couple of like 2 or 3 episodes.
Right. Well, let's stop.
Yeah, I'm
like
sorry.
20 minutes.
He kept asking me questions, so we, you know.
Well, when you said stockpiling power like 7 times in a row.
Sorry. I don't know.
So
I don't know how to explain it if they haven't told me, man. Next one is, I think, The Slayers. Yeah, The Slayers.
Okay,
That's Tim one.
The Slayers should just be real quick. Slayers is a really old anime. It came out around the same time as like the original Dragon Ball. It's
I actually watched the first episode of it
the Slayers
after the episode last week because I went over and I was talking to my buddy about the stuff you guys showed me, and he's like, "Oh, that reminds me of the Slayers."
Okay.
And we watched like the first 2 episodes of it.
Yeah, the Slayers is a pretty simple concept of a show, and it ran for a really long time. The concept is there's a normal sword fighting sort of warrior guy, and he runs into a chick that has magic. Right, she's a sorceress, and they team up and become a pair. And he basically, fights and keep people off of her while she casts magic. And when she's on her period, she loses her powers.
What? I didn't get to that part. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's apparently a thing in the world of the Slayers. All the female sorceresses, they just lose their powers once a month as a result of that.
Of that time. Of the month.
But I think they go over. They're also more powerful than male sorcerers.
Yeah.
So they're more powerful than male sorcerers, but they don't have their powers once a month. So dude with sword, he grew up with like a sorcerer or something. Like he was like an orphan or something. He knew a sorcerer, and he knew that she lost her powers once a month, but his sexual education is lacking, so he has no idea why. So he doesn't know that much about women, and he's like 20. So
yeah.
Wow.
It's actually
it's an interesting show. They get into a lot of weird situations. They fight a lot of cool monsters, and it's
and like
really long running show. It's got hundreds of episodes, a bunch of different seasons. I think it's like 15 seasons or something.
Yeah.
And it got a bunch of movies. It was a really neat show.
I think it's up to 15 seasons and like that a couple thousand episodes.
Wow.
But yeah, in the first episode they kill a dragon, and I was into it for sure.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
"Alright,
and
this is
that's
super
the
dope."
other weird thing about anime, and this is that being one of them, is like really a lot of anime that I've noticed that you guys have talked about. There are so many you couldn't watch them all, but there are very rarely any animes that last longer than 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And they just kind of disappear. I mean, there are some exceptions. So
Most
obviously
of
the
them are
Slayers,
like
Dragon
12 or
Ball Z
13.
lasted how many seasons?
9 seasons of DBZ, like 5 of Dragon Ball, and
We'll
there's
see,
like
but,
3 of Super
Detective
Most-
Conan's at 22 or 23.
Detective Conan's at a couple of seasons.
Naruto Shippuden
But, like,
itself had like
some of the
8
stuff that-
Most
seasons.
animes
One Piece
are
has
12.
It's still
to-
going.
Yeah,
It's up to like
24
1100,
episodes.
1200
Per
episodes
season.
right now.
Yeah.
Or just period.
No, just period. Like they're just 12 or 24 episodes usually around that number.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It's
And
like
that's it.
There's
Honestly,
become a lot
it
more
depends. It
structure
depends
to their
on
seasons,
it depends
too.
on what era a lot of your
Yeah.
animes come out, and it depends on what type of slot, like time slot, your anime is supposed to fill. So Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z didn't really have seasons because they never stopped
Yeah, they
Yeah.
get
Getting
sagas.
pushed onto TV. But like single season shows can be a bunch of random things.
so, like in
So-
Japan, these episodes that come out, like we'll use Dragon Ball. I know we keep going back to Dragon Ball Z, but it's fine.
kind of the pinnacle.
I have a
mean,
question.
nobody's-
no, it's just
Or-
one that everyone knows and has an
it's
example
just
for just
in
about
this one.
everything.
This one is the one that I have the biggest question on because, like here in the United States, we have these things called seasons. Like TV shows come on in the fall, they'll run through a certain number of episodes, and then they stop for what they call a break, and then they have the season finale, and then the season opener when the season starts again in the fall.
Yeah.
So,
So what
a
you
lot
have
of
to
it's
think about, you have to think about it
arcs.
slightly differently. Certain anime are structured like that. They're
Okay.
structured like shows like that where they have seasons. Other shows, like mostly the shonen shows, are structured more like soap operas where they never
Never
stop.
stop.
That's what I was
being
going to
made.
ask. So they
so they
run
have story arcs.
so
Just,
they
like
run-
kind of like Sword Art Online.
right.
There's
So
2 story arcs.
Dragon Ball was Dragon Ball an everyday thing or once a week?
I think it was a
once a
once.
week.
Yeah, it was once a week, and it ran for a couple of years or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Dragon Ball Z, for instance, like that whole first season of Dragon Ball Z, I think it's I don't even know how many episodes is it?
Like
I think
the first saga.
When I say
where-
there wasn't a real break, I mean like Dragon Ball ran I think nonstop, and then the break, quote unquote, between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was like a month.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like it started almost immediately after.
And they've kind of done the same thing now that they've finished Shippuden. They literally immediately shot themselves in the foot and started animating Boruto, which is the sequel about his kid. And like, there's only like 40 chapters in the manga, and Boruto is like 98% filler because there's like nothing for them to actually write about and
So
animate
that's the
in the
Naruto
show.
sequel.
Sequel.
You're talking about Naruto sequel. So
Yeah.
it was Naruto and then Shippuden, and then now they're doing this.
Boruto, yeah.
But
And
that's
freaking trash.
That's a
The
lot.
show
That's a
is,
lot
at
of the
least.
reasons why shonen shows get a lot of the bad raps that they do.
Yeah,
Because
they're
and it's because the exact same reason that soap operas get the bad raps they do, because their writing schedule, their deadlines are, you have to be done by this time on this day, or
Well-
else we won't be able to make the show.
Right. Well, the soap operas, the old school soap operas that we're talking about, those are 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they film almost constantly. The
And
writing
they were-
schedule
yeah.
is insane. Like
They would film every day.
and that's basically how shonen anime works.
Especially now, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just my question. Sorry, because I know that,
That's cool.
like you were saying, like the Slayers has all these seasons, and
Mhm.
it's like so hard to even find an anime. Like Harrison was saying, more than 24 episodes in some anime.
Well, like I said, it depends on what era you're in. So like in especially like the late 90s, your average season would be 26 episodes.
Okay.
And then a few years later, it goes down to 25 or 24, and you get weird half seasons, which end up being 13 or 12, and then you get some of the rare sort of specialized anime that are between 4 and 5 episodes long. You get really weird numbers, but they all fit in like a weird niche. Like you can
Gotcha.
tell how long an anime is supposed to last.
Based on how.
Based on what kind of anime it is, and then it will last that number of episodes.
Okay. That was just like I said, my weird question.
Sometimes
So.
they also just have bonus episodes called OVAs, which
Yes.
are just
Yeah.
extra.
Just an extra animation of a show
Yeah.
or something. in
Something that just
Original-
didn't happen in the original
Oh,
time.
OV-
Have like a
OVAs
beach episode.
OVAs are original
there.
video
So that way you get
animations.
the bikini and half naked animated girls. Yeah, gotcha.
Sometimes. But like you have different kinds of OVAs. Some of them are like Elseworlds takes. So Rurouni Kenshin's OVAs don't technically take place in the same world that the show did, but you could say that they did, because most of their OVAs is a prequel, which show you how he gets the scars, and then the last couple take place way after the show, like 15, 20 years. So they aren't technically in the world of the show, but they don't hurt the timeline at all.
Gotcha. So, okay, I don't want to go off too far on that. So we'll go to the next. What's our next topic?
So we only have 2 more. The next one is the show Another, which was
Okay, that'd be a
Harrison's
Harrison.
topic.
I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because we're getting a little long on there.
Yeah,
It's a
so
show
it's long to talk
About a middle school that has a curse on it, and middle schoolers kind of just die.
What kind of curse?
Yeah, well,
Like, is it just a generalized death curse? So
Essentially, yeah.
So you get like the whole school is like everyone in the school is being Final Destination.
I guess so. Like,
That's
Like
just
say
kinda
they
die.
accidentally fall out of windows, or trip down the stairs, or
Yep,
roof
the first-
collapses, or
The first death that you see is a girl, and that's when the show, I guess, starts to pick up, is whenever this girl is walking down the stairs with an umbrella. The umbrella falls, lands, and then she trips while dropping it, and like gets stabbed with the umbrella and dies.
I feel like I've never seen an umbrella with enough structural integrity for that to work.
I'll
But
show you the clip after.
you gotta always do that, man. You just like, suspend
It's
your disbelief
animation,
for
man.
at least a second,
In
man.
the anime, they build their umbrellas
so-
way structurally stronger than
so
they
I'm
do in real
gonna,
life.
is,
Come on.
does the show follow protagonists that are trying to figure out how to get rid of the curse,
Or is it just like death?
I think they just try to deal with it, and I guess they do try to avoid it, and then eventually, towards the end, it just keeps like happening.
Is it a comedic misadventure type show, or is it
It's kind of dark and gory.
Excessively dark, sort of?
It's pretty gory. He meets this chick that's like really weird, and he thinks that she has something to do with the curse, but she doesn't. She's just emo.
Nice.
It's a whole different kind of curse.
Wait, hold on now. I'm just emo. How dare you suggest such a thing?
It's also been a while since I've seen it though, but yeah, it.
All right, we got the last suggestion here, and it comes from Tim with Guardians of Sidonia.
So, luckily, I put this on the list and was not the only person that watched it.
I've seen like an episode, maybe.
You suck. Because the way you talked about it, I thought you had seen at least 5.
I've heard of it, and I've seen an episode of it, maybe. I know that it's a show on Netflix.
Yeah, it was, I think it was the first quote-unquote Netflix original anime.
Right.
Really, it was the early days of Netflix originals. Really, all they did was they bought the rights to do the dub.
Yeah,
and put it up on Netflix.
Which is what all the Netflix original animes are. It's just they bought the rights for the dub.
Well, what about the anime that's Jaden Smith, the anime?
Say what?
Do you not know about that? Jaden Smith made an anime.
Is it about himself?
Basically.
How would
I forgot what it was called. It was on Netflix though.
Sorry, is he trans in it?
No, I don't think so. Jaden.
I only wonder because that was a thing that happened for a while. I'm not sure if it's still happening.
What?
Where he went trans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started dating some rapper dude.
Yeah, it's called Neo Yokio.
Interesting.
I remember seeing that on there, and it's literally just like...
Though I do wonder what his sister does with her day.
Yeah, if his is that weird, then like what's she into?
She made one song, and I think that she got like disowned by the rest of the family or something. But
I just like how whenever Will is asked about what's going on with his son, he's just like, I don't know what that boy's up to. He's a weirdo.
Anyway, so
to each their own.
Guardians of Sidonia is sort of a strange show. The beginning starts off kind of standard, I guess.
Is there a standard in anime?
That's the reason why I paused, because I think I said something that
doesn't make any sense.
A complete lie, because it doesn't exist.
Brown-haired male protag goes to high school.
No,
that's a pretty standard one.
No, so it's in the future. I don't think there is an Earth anymore. I think that was the thing, and everyone lives on this giant spaceship. There is a shortage of food, so some scientists many years ago altered some people's DNA, and now everyone can photosynthesize.
Yeah, I think
so they can photosynthesize through their skin. One dude gets born. He has a genetic defect. That genetic defect is he cannot photosynthesize.
Oh, that's pretty shitty.
That's a pretty bad defect. So he can't photosynthesize, and as a result, like his grandfather or something hides him and sneaks him food, because they do have some food.
Yeah.
But it's mostly supplementary. Like the majority of what they get nutrition-wise is by photosynthesizing.
So he's eating just.
So he's basically he's
crappy
eating way more than everybody else on the ship. So he's being hidden, and he ends up getting found. But they're going through space trying to find a new place to be or whatever, and they're fighting this alien race, I think. It's either aliens or rebels. I can't remember which one. But they have giant mech suits, right? And they fly through space and they shoot at each other. And he ends up being a really good pilot, so they let him stick around even though he eats all of their food, because he can pilot mechs really well and fights for them.
Dope.
So what's the name of the show?
Guardians of Sidonia.
Guardians of Sidonia.
Huh.
I think I've seen the first episode, and I've definitely seen a lot of things that are kind
I don't know, the whole talking about the photo, but when you got into talking about mechs and piloting and that's the
some
kind of
stuff
stuff that I'd be
I
into.
I can never get into a mecha anime. I don't.
Well,
like
I do find it's a lot harder for me, but there are
It's less-
some
it's
that
less-
I've definitely
okay.
gotten into.
When I say mechs, like James, you might be more into mecha animes, like Gundam or even like Evangelion, which is
you got to go back
but
further than that.
it'd be closer.
for
It'd be
me.
closer to Evangelion in the fact that it's a mecha anime by technicality only.
Yeah, you would definitely like Evangelion.
There's mechs
It's
in
like-
it, but it's more of a character analysis type
Well,
story.
you got to
Yeah.
think, Sam. You got to go back further than Gundam for me. You got to talk about like Robotech, and
I don't want to talk about Robotech.
that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of mech stuff
Do we
that
need
I
a
was
third
into.
anime episode?
Because
we need to wrap up.
Well, that was the last one we were going to
Yeah,
talk
so-
about.
Well, there's probably only one more anime that I want to talk about, and I didn't stick it on the list because I forgot, and it's Dead Man Wonderland. You've seen it, Harrison, right? Or you heard of it?
I know what it is, but I've
Okay,
never...
so this one is closer to your analysis of standard anime. Brown hair antagonist goes to high school. Except he only goes to high school for the first 5 minutes of the show.
He goes to prison, right?
Then he goes to prison.
Nice.
So, Dead Man Wonderland, dude goes to high school, and I thought it was going to be a pretty bone stock standard anime to begin with, because he's got a crush on the girl in school, and she's in his class, and he's trying to muster up the courage to go ask her out on a date, and they're sitting in class, and then giant evil monster dude comes flying through the window of the school with a scythe and cuts off everybody's head except his, and he gets charged with multiple homicides, and gets sent to prison, and this prison has a giant underground fighting ring, where everyone has blood related superpowers, and they fight to the death.
This sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I want to watch that so bad.
I've been meaning to watch it. I need to.
Dead Man Wonderland?
Dead Man Wonderland. It is rather gory, so if you're not into super gore, I would not recommend watching it.
Same thing with Another.
Yeah, but it is an interesting story, and this kid is not having a good day. Like he's, so yeah, it's an interesting show.
Well, I don't know how gory Sword Art Online is, but there's a show on Funimation.
They're not at all. There's
Not at all. It's
there's
all
like
digital gore.
there's like 3 drops of blood in the last
There's
episode
a
of
show
the first
on
season.
Funimation called Arifureta from Commonplace, the World's Strongest. And it's kind of got like a similar premise to what I understand Sword Art Online is, but it's got like uber gore, and the main character's OP as fuck. Which,
Well, I mean,
may not be
Sword Art
appealing to
honestly
you.
reminded me of Dot Hack the first time I heard about it.
Anyways, I think we've kind of
Yeah,
had a
we've
great
kinda-
conversation and
We've had,
discussion.
yeah, we definitely went around with a couple of ones that I kind of glad we did talk about,
And
because they're the
James
ones
had
that
a
are.
nice nap.
Yeah, I pretty much had a nice nap. That was definitely not my forte. It's not my thing. It's
Recommended
okay
anime.
though, because there are a lot of people out there that do watch anime, and I know the 3 of you in the room do. So
And we're gonna make you a fan yet. So
Recommend an anime, James.
don't talk to me about recommending an anime.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah, sure. Anyway.
My recommendation is going to be Gakugarashi, otherwise known as School Live. Everyone please watch it, because they're sort of still on the verge of getting a second season.
and more people to watch.
And if more people watch it, then they might get convinced to make a second season, because it's a really good show.
I'll give my basic ass recommendation and tell you guys to watch My Hero Academia. If you like superhero stuff and you like
Yep.
the basic shonen,
Right after
if
you
you
get
can
done-
tolerate the shonen,
Right after you get
Style.
done watching Gakugarashi, you watch My Hero Academia, and then watch Gakugarashi again. More views.
yeah,
Pump up those numbers artificially. I don't care.
I'll do it.
All right, I know Harrison has like he's like I said, he's not a mainstream guy. I'm sure he has a list
Yeah,
a
recommend
mile
something
long,
weird.
a mile long of.
Give me
something
some.
weird, but I kind of want to recommend something that's not. It's kind of a little more popular, actually.
Okay.
The movie A Silent Voice. I think everybody needs to watch it. It's
I do remember
really
you talking
good.
about it at one point. Yeah.
It's about this kid that okay. It's about this kid that bullies this deaf girl in elementary school, and then he grows up and he tries to kill himself because he's depressed.
Ooh, nice.
I wish you guys heard that, but
We were talking about Garashi. Sorry, what was your recommendation?
I'll tell you later.
Ah, you're a dick.
But
Go back and listen to the
Yeah.
podcast.
yeah,
There
watch
you
it.
go.
You'd probably be like, "Wow, that sounds like very interesting."
Probably does.
But anyways,
He's
yeah,
in love with
go
this
go
girl
watch
and
it. It's
wants to
good.
kill himself.
Say the name one more time, though.
A silent voice.
A silent voice.
Okay.
All right. So, with all that said and all that done, we are probably not done with anime because there's a lot more to talk about, but we are done for
Right.
now.
Leave your recommendations of things for us to talk about in the
Or
comments.
if you have a recommendation of an anime that we did not discuss,
Or you don't think we discussed enough.
or you did not, or just one that you think that after listening to our podcast today that we might enjoy, definitely feel free to leave a comment down there and say, hey, you should check out this one if you really like that show.
And while you're down there typing, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Oh yeah,
Even,
absolutely.
all that, yeah.
if you hate this show, make sure you subscribe so you can leave us hate comments.
Tell me
Oh,
why
yeah.
Superman can beat up Goku.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that discussion about Superman and Goku, okay? Anyway,
Next time.
Hey, you know what? That would be a fun podcast to do versus.
Next time.
we could do that
What the hell do you think we are? Death battles?
eventually.
yeah.
We can just do a couple. I'm not saying we're just
We don't
gonna,
have an animation budget.
All right, anyway,
Dang.
with that, I'm going to say we will talk at you later. Next time I'll talk